I got the Ford 3.5. This is the Ford Flex. Now these motors are supposed to be the same as the 3.7s. This is my first time doing one of these, and I remember when I was young, I used to always dread doing timing chains. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so intimidated. But I'm gonna be honest, timing chains are gonna be the easiest thing you're gonna do outside of a time belt. Because I mean, in comparison to a time belt, you literally have the answers, you know. So don't ever be intimidated by or discouraged by a timing chain. You know, the links are going to give you the answers here. So trust me, you'll be fine. But I digress. So as far as this motor, it had the water pump leak. I do have that down on the ground somewhere, but it didn't. The thing is, it didn't leak internally. This particular motor wound up leaking through the weep hole. So here we got the water pump, and we have a plastic impeller, which is not a bad thing. See the gear here where it's driven, and on this side, where's that joker at? Right here, because it sits like this. This is where mine's, or in this case, this customer's cars was leaking from, and it was behind the alternator. It would drip down on the oil pan and you know, make you wonder, is there like an outlet pipe or something leaking? And it's not. It's simply just the water pump. The car has 170 something thousand. I mean, that's still pretty good. It's just a crazy expensive replacement. And labor time on this, for those who want to know, is 10 hours, 10.8 hours. Dealer pays, for what I understand. My labor guide, it says 8. I can do this in 8 hours. Trust me on this. This wasn't that bad. You know, people are like, oh my gosh, it's the hard. It's not hard at all. If you've done valve covers on these, you can do this. I mean, once you remove the valve covers, it ain't nothing. It's very simple. You have good room here in the front. The only hard part, I'll admit, is pulling the timer cover out. And I've been kind of debating on how I'm going to get this joker back in there without getting glue everywhere. So I'm thinking about gluing the block first and then just putting the timer cover on it and meshing it together that way, so I wouldn't get glue on the timing components or make a mess. And I'm thinking about changing my glue. I might have to actually use black glue instead of the gray glue, because the gray glue may dry too fast. But you know, if I get a high torque black glue, I think it'll work out. But don't be intimidated by this job. I cannot stress that to you enough. You know, despite what some of the claims are on the internet, you're fine. There's another. Well, I looked up one source because I did find one popular. I cannot remember the guy's name. He did do a timing cover. The water pump on this. He did a lot more than what was needed. He removed the lower intake manifold. You don't have to do that. I'm not changing that O-ring in the bypass tube underneath here. I'm just going to simply do the thermostat on this particular model. And I'm pretty sure there are variations of this engine, but as far as this 09, you know, I didn't have to remove the lower portion. So, but I am putting the thermostat in here while the coolant's drained, just doing everything right. New gaskets. Oh yeah. So again, that was the only difficult thing, removing the timer cover. The only other thing that I broke was the grommet that goes to the oil control solenoids for the VVT, variable control system for this gear here. And but the Felpro gasket set that I got came with it, so we're fine. If you want to see that, here's the valve cover. This portion right here, it was just hard to get out. Like I said, I got new gaskets, and it's going to come with these new grommets. You can just hit it with penetrating oil. It'll make it a lot easier to come out. So that's the only thing I broke. Surprisingly, everything else went smooth. Everything is accessible. I would say 95% even 98% of all the fasteners are accessible by a driver, like if you have an electronic driver. And the rinky-dink one I got from the Power Torque from Harbor Freight that I went through like 4 a year, they work fine as far as accessing everything, and also the impact gun. So that worked out. So it's not bad. The power steering pump to be removed, not bad at all. It was a 13 and a 10 millimeter. socket. If you remove the fender well like I did here, all this is out. I just had it drop so I can pull it in the garage, so when I come back to it today, all this is fine. I did stuff rags in the bottom there and made a little mess at some point, but it's not that bad. I'll take all those rags out. I got about 6-7 squares in there. So again, it's not, looks like this camera right. It's not bad at all. And I don't know if I mentioned the updated guide here. I do have the old one. So to remove this guide, you do have to remove the gear here, the variable timing gear. So this has to come out. You do have to have these special brackets here to retain the cam. They only can go in, I'm gonna say, they can go in 2 ways. It's gonna be 180 degrees off, or it's gonna be on time. I bought those from Amazon, cheap, about $40 or so, I wanna say. So you're gonna need this special tool here. It comes with 2 sets. I got that over. We'll take a look in a little bit. But as far as the timing components, this is the old style, and how it sat in there was like this, the opposite direction of what the updated one sits. And to remove this top fastener, you're gonna have to take that gear off if you want to replace this. Now, I'm pretty sure there's an alternative. I thought about, like, if a person was to try to take this off, they can probably cut a slit in here, loosen that bolt, slide it out, cut another slit in here, slide it back in, and continue with the repair, like with the Dremel. That's just what I was thinking about. But just to risk getting metal shavings in there, if somebody was to take that route, I wouldn't do it. If you're gonna, especially if you're gonna replace the timing, the sub chains, just go ahead and do that. Take everything off. Now, when you put this gear back, you're supposed to torque it down at 30 foot-pounds, loosen up a full turn, snug it about 10 foot-pounds, and then do a 90-degree turn on both of those. That's the torque specs for those. So you tighten 30 foot-pounds, back off, and then tighten it 10 foot-pounds, and then torque it, not torque it, but do a 90-degree turn. So, but the updated one it's just a full set. It's the full plastic component. It's not 2 pieces like this, so I guess you don't have to worry about it breaking or falling off. And then it also sits on the opposite side here, where I think it's just probably going to redirect that tension. So that's just my assumption there. I didn't really put that much investigating into it. Now, my dumb ass did look at it, and I'm like, how the fuck does this go on here? But it come with bolts, so you can't reuse the original fastener that it come with. You use the bolts that come with the kit, and I got this off of Rock Auto, the Engine Tech, if I recall, because I have used several Engine Tech timing chain components with no problems. This is the basic one. It didn't come with any gears or anything. You're not going to need any gears. Just replace the just replace the timing chains. Should be fine. This car was pretty neglected, but I'll say that for another day. It looks pretty decent here. I took some brake cleaner, went around it again, because all the rags are going to absorb that. As far as removing the coolant, I had some cardboard, made it into like a pathway where I can sit it up in there. When I drained the coolant, it just trickled down to the pan there. It guided itself in there, so it worked out. I don't think there's a lot of other things I could talk about, man, but like I said, it's not hard. Please don't get discouraged. If somebody's intimidated by it, of course, just don't do it. But I would say, if a person can turn a bolt, know the direction of a bolt, know how to take off brakes, know how to do a valve cover on this vehicle, then they can simply do the timing chains on here. Again, the timing chains give you the answer. You have the marks, you have little dots and indentions. If you get once you get this notch up here, top dead center, they're gonna be facing that one direction. There's a dot here where this link needs to be lined up with. Same thing with the side here. You know, there are notches where things need to be lined up. They literally give you the answer. As far as the removal of the crank pulley, you know, I do have my special tool, that ours harmonic balancer tool removal. The harmonic balancer removal tool, and I use this, worked perfect. I use it on a Dodge. I did a video on this and it worked out just fine. The harmonic balancer had the same similar design to where you could use it and grasp onto this and pull it off no problem. It literally took 60 seconds once I got that 18mm fastener off of the harmonic balancer. It worked out just fine. Just fine, actually. So again, you're going to be doing a lot of jacking up and down just to be able to get some good angles on it. And which is, oh yeah, I forgot, the belt for the power steering. You're going to need another special tool for that, and that's simply the stretch belt removal tool. That is a stretch belt, and I just simply put the, here we go, right here, I put the removal side on there. So shucks. So this is the removal. Put it on the pulley, turn the crankshaft, and it got the belt right off with no problem. I'm going to reuse that belt. I am putting a new alternator belt on it. It looked like crap, so that's all ripped up and stuff. It's like a cheap belt, but I can reuse the stretch belt. They'll look fine, and I'll just simply do it in the opposite direction, put the installation tool on there, turn the crank to where it install itself, and it'll work out just fine. So you'll need a harmonic balancer removal tool, this EverTough tool to remove the tensioner, not the tensioner, but the stretch belt for the power steering pump. That will be the only challenging part. Like I said, I'm doing everything on here while it's out. Of course, I got a timing chain water pump. I got a Gates brand water pump. I'll trust Gates. That's the minimum that I would trust. I am doing spark plugs. I do have 3 new coils that I ordered off the offline also, that I'm putting those in the bag, and I'm putting new intake gaskets on here. And I don't know if I mentioned I am doing the spark plugs too. So, and of course changing the oil, obviously. So, but yeah, so that's everything. I'm just doing everything right, so I ain't got to worry about it no more. I guess for the bad news now was, this is the state. This is current time. This is in the morning. I worked on it for about 6 hours yesterday. Well, picked at it for about 6 or 7 hours, something like that. I picked at it. I mean, this is on and off. I wasn't consistent, and now the customer. The car been here for a couple weeks because I know they want to make payments as far as getting it repaired, and we have it in agreement that we were going to get the car fixed. I literally got an okay and go, and she texts me today at this state saying, you know, we talked and we considering we're just going to go ahead and get a new car, and I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? And but I told them I was already 60% done with the vehicle. So, but she and I told her I literally had the okay to go repair it, and she phone call come in. But yeah, we had the okay go. So, you know, they understood. They're still going to pay, and I'll be honest, for what they're paying for it, I'll do these all day. I'll do these all day, and it's not a cheap job. And I've heard some prices get thrown out there from what other mechanics will charge, but everybody got their own price. I know some people hit me up in the comments section in some of my past videos inquiring about how much I charge to do this, or do not this job but some other jobs. And understand that my prices are not the absolute. They're not the prices of what somebody else should charge. If somebody, and I'm like this, if somebody want to pay 3 times as much for oil change, and in somebody else's eyes they're getting screwed over, they trust that person. Just because I may do this for $2,000, somebody else may do it for $800, doesn't make the $800 price correct. So you gotta take that into consideration. But I will say this is a $2,000 job here. So again, that's my price, and everybody has their own prices. But understand, you know, I'm going through the extent of making sure everything's right, and we are replacing everything: the valve cover gaskets, water pump timing component set, thermostat. I mean, everything, belts, front crank seal, all that stuff is getting done. So that's I'm not putting a water pump on, put it that way. But everybody got their own price. But let's move on with life. So again, I mean, I'm gonna say this so I can go ahead and start working on this. Don't get discouraged. This is something I would say any mechanic with I guess wrench turning skills and some patience, they can do. This is not that hard of a job. It's just lengthy because of the amount of bolts, but to understand, the good part is the bolts and fasteners are mostly, and I'm talking about 95%, accessible with the drivers. So if you turn it by hand, I can understand. But if you oh yeah, I think I missed one thing about pulling the cover off. So when you pull in the timing cover off, this right here, these right there, chain here, I have to drain some of that oil off. It's fine. It's gonna make a mess. Oh shit. It's fine. It's gonna make a mess. So when you pulling this timing cover off here, these are where the fastener goes, the bolts. But if you look beneath it, there are holes there. Those holes are threaded. Those are what you would take the nearest bolt, put that in there, and you would tighten it up. And what it's going to do is going to allow you to exert pushing force. It's like when this is the bolt, one of my left in there, and once you tighten it up, it's going to push away from the engine. And because you do have dials, like here's a spot where a dial would go, you can't pry it up. You need something that's going to allow it to come off as even as it can, and that's what you're going to have to do. Don't pry up anything, and I guess that's how other people broke half of it, I guess. But I didn't have any problems. I followed directions, and everything worked out. Again, the only challenging thing is like how I'm going to get this joker back in there without making a mess. And again, I'm thinking I might just use high torque black glue because it dries slower. Put it on the block, and then put this in there afterwards, and then I can let it do its meshing and have its feel. Now you can't mess up where the RTV would go, because you'll see it's in black areas. I mean, not only will you go around the timing cover, but there's some bolt holes here you would go around, and that's pretty much it. And again, I'm replacing the crank seal. I'm going to get all this stuff cleaned up today, because my next step is getting this back on and finishing up the repair. Other than that, I guess we'll update shortly when I get it running. Everything is back together. I think I'm missing something. I don't have any coolant in there, so that's the only thing I got to put in there. Let's see here. This is not the first startup yet. The engine's still cold. Man, I'm nervous. If it don't work, the video just don't get uploaded, right? No, I'm serious. I got some personal accountability. I'm kind of speechless. I don't have nothing to say right now because I'm just so anxious to see if it runs. I am going to fill it up with antifreeze first before I start it up, because I'd rather have a startup with coolant than a dry startup, especially how hard it is to access that pump. So let me do that. Alright, I don't have any more coolant. I got some Zurex, but I want to put some Universal Green in here. So I guess I'm going to have to start up as it is, short term, and then I'm going to go to the parts store and get some coolant. Thought I had some laying around, some Universal, but Okay, let's go back over it. I do have oil in there first and foremost. I do have, of course, the new valve covers, new spark plugs, intake gaskets, rear coils are brand new, and plugs. All the fuel injectors are hooked up. Throttle body, that's hooked up. Everything on the timing cover side is hooked up. VVT solenoid hooked up. I think we're cam sensors hooked up. Fuel injector, all the wiring harness. All right, let's see what happens. Well, I don't have to panic no more. See, it works. Starts up just perfectly fine. I do have to put power steering fluid in there. So I'm going to go ahead and run and get something to eat first because I haven't ate all day. And I'll talk more about this when I get myself in a better state of mind. So it works. I'll be back. I just got back, took my little lunch break or whatever. I got my coolant topped off with the universal green that hasn't fully circulated yet. The car only been running for like 2 minutes. Power steering's topped off. Everything's working great. Everything went really smooth. Now, I mean, it wouldn't have been a bad idea to go through the entire repair, but again, I mean, the whole premise of this video just to let people know that this is nothing to be intimidated over. Again, I mean, it is very lengthy, but the valve covers on here are easily removed. They're not that difficult. It's not like this intake has a bracket in the back like some of the, like a Nissan or something like that. You know, they're not difficult to access to remove this intake and to gain access to the valve covers. And again, it's just primarily, the job is very lengthy. Once you get the jack under there, support it under the oil pan, I mean, you're just going to be doing a lot of up and down lifting. Primarily because you're just trying to get clearance, adequate clearance in the back to access some of the bolts, and after a while of fidgeting around, you will be able to successfully achieve that. And the only issue, let me cut this car off before I burn up because I got the fans off and I'm gonna start sweating profusely. The only issues I had with the only tough part again was, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm not gonna say it again. I haven't reviewed my footage, but the only tough part was getting the timing cover out, and I didn't pull off any AC lines. I was able to simply just move this back. I'm gonna have to get that back in there, but I don't think this is just a little grommet. I don't know what that does. I think this is a little protector. But it was just pulling the cover out of there, the timing cover. Now, and I was able to do that by just, again, elevating the engine or lowering it, and I was able to fish it out. So what I did was, instead of putting sealant, or I did use black glue. I didn't mention that. So I did. It was a thing if I was going to use gray, ultra gray, or black, and I wound up using black glue only because the one I did get worked pretty well. Let me show. Here we go, right here. The Optimum Max Flex. And it was oil resistant. That was the main thing, because some of the other black glues don't really work well under slight oily foundations. This worked very good, just like the gray glue. It didn't dry as fast, so I had enough time to apply it on the engine first, all around the cylinder head down to the oil pan and back up to the front head here, and also in the center portion, that little valley. So that worked out. Then I also had time to smear a very light film over the timing cover, just very light. I didn't have a thick bead, just something that sealant will have something to latch on to. So that worked out very well. Again, I raised and lowered the engine to get it to fall in comfortably, and it fell right into place like it was supposed to. Started running the bolts in there hand tight, and then start running it with my driver. Everything worked out just fine. We got to this point where it's running now. Now I did forget to put oil on the guides, but I was able to put oil on the timing chain in the front bank here. And this engine does a really good job of sloshing the oil around. I mean, you take this cap off while the engine's running, it's just throwing oil everywhere. So the timing chain does get lubricated extremely well. So there's no problem with that. I did lubricate the front. The timing chain was lubricated decent, so it did, I'm pretty sure, as it rotated, still was able to reduce friction. So I think we're fine. Again, it takes 10 hours. Again, don't be intimidated. Can't stress that enough. I did change the thermostat. Over there. That's done. And didn't take that long. Just 2 bolts, pull it out, pull the old thermostat, and install the new one. So everything worked out. But look, if you have any questions, hit in the comment section. Again, this job takes 10 hours. You can definitely do it in 8 if you're familiar with vehicles. And don't forget to change your oil, and don't forget to pull those rags out the bottom of the oil pan there, because I would feel bad for the guy who left those in there. But hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, have that reassurance of my work. See you on the next one.